We'll call to order the Grant County Commission work session of December 11th, 2012. Welcome, everybody. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. If we took 2 years to memorize that. First item on the agenda is updates and reports. We're going to have an update from the Grant County Community Health Council. Tiffany's here. Welcome, Tiffany.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me. So what's in front of you, I gave you packets earlier this morning. So in the yellow folder, we'll talk through that one first. Working with Commissioner Miller and Mr. Sari, the Health Council realized that you guys get a lot of funding requests, whether it's from nonprofits or community organizations that would like to provide some sort of service to Grant County. And so the Health Council wanted to help with that process. And so we thought, let's try to streamline the process and make it more consistent for all organizations, so that not only do you guys get some sort of reporting mechanism, but also that they fill out some sort of contract or application asking for funds. They're not just going to send you a 2-line email. You're going to get a substantial piece of information or a document that'll describe exactly what they're going to do. So in your folder on the left-hand side is just my proposal as the coordinator of the Health Council. Basically, as you know, we're your Health and Wellness Advisory Board, and that's exactly what we'd like to provide here for any funding request reviews. So what would happen ultimately is that any organization that would like to request money from the county would contact either the county manager or myself. They would receive a packet similar to this one with everything that's on the right-hand side of your packet. So application, instructions, and then there's a piece in there that's also a letter. So after they return their application to the Health Council will review their proposal. We won't say, yes, you should approve it, or no, you should not approve it. What we'll say is, yes, it meets the priorities of the Health Council and it would be beneficial to the residents in Grant County, or no, it would not. And then we would provide you not only their application, but also that letter of support, or letting you know why we don't think that this is the best proposal for you to fund. So then you would then have the choice to still vote on that proposal, but you would know the feelings and the thoughts of based on our plan and profile. And then at that point, we've also put in place in this process would be some follow-up. So the applicant would either be asked to provide a quarterly verbal or written report to you, letting you know how your money's being spent. Because we've been made aware that some of the organizations don't present as often, and so we'd like you to at least know where your money's going and how it's being utilized. So this would also help the Health Council. We'd be able to help track the money in and out of nonprofits in the community, and that's something that the Health Council used to do several years ago, but with Department of Health relocating funding, we've had a hard time doing that. So, any questions on this process? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful process. It's really going to streamline what you all are doing, and people that are requesting funds. I'm very, very happy to see this.
The number one problem we have with organizations asking for funds from the county is making sure that we are in compliance with the anti-donation clause. That will be scrutinized.
Absolutely. The organizations that are applying for funding will all be receiving the anti-donation clause, as well as the highlighted question on the right-hand side on the actual application. We're going to spell out some specific things that you guys see that people ask for. So, for example, furniture. If you can't supply furniture, we'll list that specifically, so we'll be able to weed out some of those individuals for you, and then either myself or Mr. Sari will be able to speak with those individuals about other methods of funding. So we can reroute them, whether it's Community Investment Fund through Freeport, or if they're applying for a training, it would make most sense to ask the Health Council for funds through Community Enhancement Fund.
And I think the other thing with funding is the sustainability aspect too. And I don't know if you've met with Nikki yet, Tiffany?
We meet today.
Okay, and so if we can tie these two in, Nikki working on helping these nonprofits become sustainable and get their own funds in the future.
Well, I just like the idea of not duplicating funds, getting funds from us and from you and other organizations for the same thing, so this might avoid that.
Absolutely. And we already have a process in place where we review Community Enhancement Fund grant applications, so I think this is just another step to that process. And so we'll be using the same committee to review these applications.
And that is on the agenda for Thursday, approving this?
No, we didn't. We wanted Tiffany to come and present it to you, and so if you had any changes or anything, she could go back. If you guys are okay with what she's prepared for you, then we'll go ahead and put it forward on the agenda for Thursday. We just didn't add it yet because she hasn't presented. Her and I have talked, and kind of one of the things that started this too is that it's easier for somebody to send the commissioners a one-sentence email that says, I want $5,000. And they never come back and tell us anything. We've talked about this with past commissions, this commission, and so this kind of eliminates that. They've got to do some work, that we're not the easy way. If there's a grant application that takes 3 pages to fill out, it's always easier to send the commissioners a one-sentence email and say, hey, Gabe, I'm in your district and I want $5,000. I know you've got some discretionary monies, come on. And so this kind of eliminates that. It helps makes these people put something together, put together a proposal so the commission can truly see what are the deliverables from the proposal. And then the process also holds them accountable to present to the commission, whether we determine it to be on a monthly, a quarterly, semi-annually basis, whatever you wish as a commissioner based on what the project is. They got to come and present back to you, and if they didn't do that and the next year they go to ask for money, that's going to be one thing the Health Council will look at and say, you know what, you were funded last year, but you didn't follow through on the criteria that your funding required. We're sorry, we can't recommend you for funding again. And so they'll deny, they won't recommend, but it'll come in front of the commission. If you wish to still fund, you have the authority. They're not taking any of that away. They're just trying to take that screening process out of your hands to make it easier so that you get a good presentation every time.
And so what you'd be voting on Thursday would not only be the proposal, but I have included a memorandum of understanding, and that's also on the left-hand side, right behind my proposal. So it basically just states that, we are providing this as an advisory board. We are by no means tying your hands to agreeing with our opinion. If you still choose to fund, that would be your choice. But we would be able to provide that consistent, accessible, timely process. So we just think it would be a fair process for all of the nonprofits in town.
I personally would like to review it again and kind of figure out if we need to put it on Thursday or the following week. That'd be fine.
Not on Thursday for right now? You're going to review?
Just review it a little bit.
Okay. No, that's fine. And that's why I asked Tiffany to come, so that she could tell you what they did, and you could ask her any questions, and like I said, if we need to tweak something, we can. This is just her and I have been talking with Commissioner Miller and trying to come up with something that kind of fixes all those issues we've had. And it fixes it for new commissioners. As you all know when you came in, the county had never done anything to help anybody, and everybody that we said no to came back to you and said they've been trying to get this for 4 years and could never get help. That's the same thing that's going to happen to Ron Hall when he comes in, is we'll have never looked at anything in Commissioner Miller's district, that she will have never done anything. So everybody that she's always had to say no to, the library that she couldn't give them furniture because it was anti-donation, will now come back and say, we asked, but she never responded.
And I know the county Community Health Council does a lot of things, not just dealing with health.
Right.
I was always wanting to ask, was there ever any kind of study done for maybe the economic impact on these road issues going on right now with the forest?
I'm sorry,
With
can
the
you
road
repeat that?
closures?
The what?
There's a road closure plan being put out by the Forest Service. I'm sure
Okay.
you've heard of that.
Yeah.
Had there ever been any kind of study with an economic impact by
No.
the Health Council or?
No, there hasn't been, but we have the option to do, there's a new thing put out by Department of Health, that's a grant-funded program to do health impact assessments. So what they do is they train you on how to determine what this policy, so the road closures would be our policy that we'd be looking at, and all the potential health impacts of that policy. So we could look into doing one of those, absolutely. Because then that would determine all the different impacts, not only economic health, but physical health, overall community health. Absolutely.
You mentioned at a meeting the other day, the Healy EDA, for, you guys had bought Survey Monkey for a year.
Yeah.
Is it a possibility to do a survey of the residents and see what their public opinion is on the road closures? Because we haven't been able to do that as well. We've gotten from both sides. I don't know if that's something the
Well, I know
commission would
the
want to do.
petition's being put out.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge,
Yeah, this is an electronic survey system that people could just log on and do.
I'm sure it'll be the same people that email us all the time.
Yeah.
And
I was just
it's gonna
putting it out there
turn
'cause
into
it's-
some kind of fiasco like
It's
the
an
last
option,
meeting did.
yeah.
But-
It's an option that they have too, is just passing that
Well, it
on.
might be something we can look at, but we'd have to publicize it very well. That
No,
way we
you
get
would.
the whole impact, not the one side.
Well, to get back to this, I've actually gone over this pretty well, so if you find it, something you want to vote on Thursday, just get with John, because I know that
I'm comfortable with it.
So if you find it, otherwise, we can wait till January to
Well,
vote
this
on
is
it.
the first I've heard of it, so I kind of wanted to review it.
That's fine.
And if you'd like to meet tomorrow, Commissioner Ramos, I'd be more than happy to meet with you and walk
What
through.
we can do is, if you'd like, is we can add it to the agenda, and then if you need more time after Thursday.
Let's do that. Go ahead.
We can go ahead and pull it off. We can table it at that time until a later meeting.
I know this means a lot to Commissioner Miller, so, she probably wants to vote on this before she leaves.
Well, we can do that, and like I said, it's easy to pull it off. It's easier to pull something off of the agenda than add at a later, after we get past that 24 hours, we can't add anymore, but we can always pull off all the way up to the meeting time. So we can do
And I think we
that.
ought to put it on there, and then we can remove it
Yeah.
when we go over the agenda
Yeah, no, definitely, I'll
on
make sure
item 3 on Thursday if we're not ready.
I'll make sure I'm in contact with Commissioner Ramos, and if he needs more time to review, we'll just pull it off.
Good. Anything else, Tiffany?
Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to let you know, I did provide you with our prospectors report. So that is our initial survey data. So that is the packet that I handed you right before we started the session today. That is the report that I provided to prospectors last week. So that is the initial survey data of our 5,055 surveys that we received back from the community. I did also break it down by the mining district. So we're currently working on putting together our community profile, and that will provide a little bit better of a picture as to what the specific community's concerns are around Grant County. But this is the community statistics as a whole, so you guys can kind of see their concerns all the way from environmental health, economic health, to community and social health.
She did an excellent job presenting at the forum. And she stayed within her time limit, which was really difficult to do, but she really did a good job.
Yeah, I did 14 slides in 8 minutes. So. Benefit of being from the Midwest and can talk
Environmental
fast.
health, road conditions, wildland, fire, and water.
The one thing that's nice is on page 9, I noticed on the senior services which are needed or need most improvement, it doesn't list the senior program that Terry has, so that means that we're doing a good job, I guess, in the eyes of the seniors, because they don't say it doesn't need improving. So that's a good piece.
Very well
that
done.
We're not on the list.
Thank you. And this is just the preliminary report. Our actual profile will be out in January. So we're hoping to get it to the legislators before they go up to legislative session. And we will be able to provide you with that document as well before you go up there. And then each community in our profile will have a fact sheet. So for Hurley, if you want to do improvements in Hurley, you'll be able to flip to the Hurley page and see every single concern that they have, their population breakdown and all of that.
There's enough information in this. We might ask you to go ahead and put on a presentation for us in January if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I would love to.
All right. Anything else?
And you won't be very limited.
I can do my 14 slides in 8 minutes. Absolutely.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Your
Thank you,
job
guys.
feels better.
I have one thing, it's not dealing with the health council, I just wanted to let everybody know, because Tiffany won't do it. her husband was promoted to the offensive coordinator for Western New Mexico University.
Very good.
So we're sticking around. You have
We're
to deal with me at
expecting
least another year.
We're expecting 50 points a game next year.
I hope so. We're going to be running the ball. So if you like to, see some hard-nosed Wisconsin football, that'll be us. But yes, so we're here another year at least, so I'll be seeing a lot more of you.
And hope your dog feels better.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on with the agenda, we'll review the December 13th regular meeting agenda. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We'll have, going down to new business, or I guess I'll go over the financials first, since we have those. In your packet, we have the financials for the month ending October 31st, 2012. Actual cash balance on July 1st was $3,707,696. The revenues year-to-date were $1,246,049. Operating expenditures are $1,118,792. Salaries and benefits are $1,697,185, leaving a cash balance at October 31st of $2,137,767, with projected transfers, revenues, expenditures of $283,120 through June 30th, 2013, leaves a cash balance at June 30th, 2013 of $2,420,887, less the required reserve of $2,105,342, leaves a surplus of $315,545. On the next page, you should see that we've collected 14.6% of our budgeted revenues so far this year. Page 3 shows that we've done 0% of the budgeted transfers as of the 30th of October. The next page is cash flow for the road fund. On July 1st, the balance was $426,531. Revenues of $278,168. Operating expenditures of $98,104. Salaries and benefits of $384,875, leave a balance as of October 31st, 2012 of $221,720, with projected transfers of revenues and expenditures through June 30th, 2013 of $113,140, leaves a cash balance on June 30th, 2013 of $334,860, with a required reserve of $130,935, leaves a surplus of $203,925. For the corrections fund, on July 1st, the balance was $363,330. The year-to-date revenues of $275,324. Operating expenditures of $196,562. Salaries and benefits of $537,577. Leaves a cash balance as October 31st, 2012 of a negative $95,485, with projected revenues, transfers, and expenditures through June 30th, 2013 of $172,058 positive. Leaves a projected cash balance June 30th, 2013 of $76,574. The reason why we show a negative right now is because typically we don't do our transfers until halfway through the year, so we haven't transferred the $1 million from the general fund down to that fund. We usually do that after January. We move all those transfers. So those are the financials. The next is the expenditure report. The expenditure report, we have $2,362,868.74. The major expenditure was to the indigent. I'm trying to find where exactly that was. We made I'm missing a page in here because I jump and I don't show the indigent. We made an indigent health care claim. That's why we're at $1,930,801.37.
What page is that?
I'm not finding. I think the page is missing. So I'll find out the
What page do
information.
you think's missing? one of the rest of us have that page?
Well, that's what I'm looking to see on the page
The
numbers,
numbers stuff, anyhow.
to see, because I'm not seeing the big payment. I'll have to find out. I'm not showing it. I'm not showing it listed on, because I know we made the payment because it's on the commission agenda today, or for Thursday. I'll have to look at it and see for you by Thursday.
Because I've
because we-
found several that are bigger than normal. As far as, I found one that's H&E equipment for nearly $90,000. Southwest Concrete and Paving for $152,000. I'm assuming that's the airport.
Yes. Southwest Concrete and Paving.
And then there was a $222,000 to TA Cole, that's the convention center,
Yes.
conference center.
And I thought we made,
All the pages are here.
yeah, and I thought we made this payment that we have on here, the $1,170,48, which is the sole community provider supplemental payment for Gila Regional. That's on the agenda, and I'm not seeing it, so I'll have to check with Jacob and see if that was on there. Because I think that's why it's that 2 million, because otherwise we shouldn't be that high. That's why it's the 2,000,003, and then with those other projects, we've got about $1 million in expenditures, and then the $1 million payment, and the construction on the conference center of 200,000. So I'll verify by Thursday to make sure if that should be in there or not, and have the summary of those major expenditures
Okay.
on that, because that's the item I on the agenda that we go over. Under new business, we have the recognition of Debbie Rogers serving as the president of the Realtors Association. We went to do this on the last meeting, but Ms. Rogers couldn't be here. And I think she's supposed to be here this time. Randy, have you heard? She's supposed to be here to receive that award as serving as the top. Next item G is approve or disapprove the fiscal year 2010 audit report. Mike Stone will be here from Stone and McGee. That audit has been completed, it's been sent to the state auditor's office, it's been reviewed and approved, we have it back. It just can't be released to the public until the commission approves it in an open meeting. We have to wait 5 days from the date we got it back, so we've already waited the 5 days. And so now when the commission accepts it, if the commission accepts it, I guess I should say when, if the commission accepts it on Thursday, which I'm hoping you do, then it will be released to the public. Mr. Stone will go over the findings in the open meeting and tell you what the opinion in the audit was.
And we don't expect the 11 to be back?
The
this
11,
fiscal
they've
year.
come in, well, no, the 11, the 11, they've done all the field work last week, they're writing it up this week. Their plan is to send it to the state auditor before the end of the week. Talked to Senator Morales, he's already talked to the state auditor's office to put, so that as soon as it hits their office, they'll review it and get it back to us. And then they plan on being in here next week to finish the 2012. And so everything should be in and in the state auditor's office before the end of this year.
I'm just wondering if we need to plan on having a special meeting to go over the 11.
And we
We don't know
can-
until...
Yeah, we
until
don't
it
know
comes
until the
back.
state auditor comes back, and then we have 5 days, and we have to call a special meeting within 3 days. So,
And then
as
12,
soon as we get the approval, we can get a hold of each of you and set a meeting date, because we have 5 days we have to wait. And then the 12 should be right behind that. When they were here last week, they did some work for the 11 and the 12. They just have got to wait for the trial balance numbers from the 11 so they can go forward with the 12. And so when they left last Friday, their plan was that they were writing up the 11 this week, and that's why they're not here in the office. And it should be sent to the state auditor's office before the 31st, as well as the 12th. So it should be sent this Friday. So, I know they were pulling a lot, Linda Vasquez and I, as well as the treasurer's office and our accounts payable and our purchasing, they had us slammed last week that we were giving them everything they asked for. I know Rumford gets one that camps out in his office, and The rest are back here in the red room, and they've left all their stuff because they're coming back. We've given them that room, and since it's a locked room, they can keep their stuff in there, and they'll be back on Monday, if not sooner. When I asked Mr. Stone to be here Thursday to present the audit, he said he may be here doing the 12 audit, and so he might just be back in the room and come out and do it and then go back in, because he's anticipating it's not going to take him long to write up the 2011 audit. So hopefully we'll be caught up again. And at that point in time, it makes us caught up. There's been some people calling and I guess saying that we're number one on the audit at risk list. We're in line one because the thing is done by group and counties come first. And so we're the only county, and so we're in line one, and then it goes municipalities and school districts and special districts, and so we're at the top of the list, but it's not because we're the worst in the state, it's because counties come first and we're the only county.
Well, regardless, we need to get it done.
No, and once the 11 is sent in, then we come off of the list because it's only if you're 2 years behind. And so we'll be off the list as soon as the 11 is there, and then by the end of the year, like I said, the 12 should be in, he said, and everything approved. So going into the legislative session, we should be current on all our audits, so we can't have any issues.
And what happens if we don't have 12 in, John?
It could jeopardize funding for us legislatively, is what we're being told.
On 12?
I'm assuming it's 12 as well. I don't know. They've never distinguished.
I assumed it was 11.
They always just said if you're not current on your audits.
Can we check on that?
So, yes, I will try and get hold of Mr. Gleason from DFA, Ryan Gleason. But, yeah, they've always just told me if you're not current on your audit, you could jeopardize your funding. They haven't distinguished if you're not current or if you're 1 year behind or, and I think they always mentioned 11 because 12 wasn't due until after November 15th. And so at November 15th, 12 became due, and so that's maybe why they never mentioned the 12, and they always just said 11. Those conversations we always had were right around that time frame. And so, but I think it's, you have to have them all current to be eligible for any CDBG or any legislative funding. I think that's what they said at the CDBG conferences, right, Anthony? It's current, not a year. Every type of funding. Just current. They just said you have to be current on your audits, so that means we have to have the 12 in as well. And Mr. Stone knows that, like he said he's camping out here until he gets them all done. And they were. I'll tell you what, they were here and they were.
Too bad we didn't camp out a year ago.
I would have been nice to camp out a couple years ago, so. But they're getting there. I mean, we've got the issue fixed and it should be smooth from there on out. So. Next item is approve, disapprove inventory deletion request of 3 buildings at the county fairgrounds. This is for the buildings that were destroyed by the microburst. Before we can tear them down, we have to delete them off our inventory. You have a letter in your books on that. It's the pig and sheep barn, the poultry and rabbit barn, and the restrooms are the 3 buildings. Those will be torn down. And then we've started the design work. We'll be meeting with Mr. Redford this week to have him start putting together the final design, building a new building that'll encompass the pigs, the steer possibly, and the rabbits and poultry all under one building, as well as the restrooms. It'll be a nice building. We'll change the direction of it. It'll be approximately a 220 by 100 foot building, so it'll be a very large building. So we're moving forward on that to either ask for legislative funding or go after a loan through New Mexico Finance Authority, because this is a building that we've got to have done before the fair next year. And so we're looking at possibly going forward with New Mexico Finance Authority and then asking for legislative funding to pay back the loan.
And that was part of Anthony's presentation for the Prospectors Forum.
Yes, it was. That was our number 1 priority on our ICIP, and this building was number 2.
Now, how did the insurance settlement?
The insurance gave us $62,000, I believe is what it was. It's around 60-something thousand to, they looked at the piece that was torn up, and really, when you look at it, it's really not a salvageable structure. It was built
In the 40s?
in the 40s. It's built with, some of it's telephone pole, looks like old telephone poles. The beams are old. It's probably worth more as salvage scrap than it is as a building. And so we're using that insurance proceeds to pay for the design and all the studies and surveying. So that's what we're using that money for, to get that going.
Well, whenever an insurance company pays out for insurance purposes, they pay out to replace it with the materials that are already in there.
Yeah.
So,
So in 1940, that was several $100,000 worth.
well, if they use
comparable,
if they
I
use
guess.
poles,
Yeah.
and railroad ties.
Yeah, you get money for
That's what
poles
you
and
do.
railroad ties,
That's right.
yeah. And it was corrugated tin roof, and so we just feel it's better to tear the whole building down and rebuild it and make it a more usable structure to where it fits the purpose better than trying to make the purpose fit the building, is what we've been doing for years now out there. The next is approval of sole community provider supplemental payment amount for Gila Regional in the amount of $1,170,048. This was something that we did. The Gila Regional, as you know, got the supplemental provider funds. They've gotten their sole community provider. They've gotten 2 supplementals already that the commission has approved, and then this is a third one. What keeps happening, like I explained before, is the state looks at the pot of money they've gotten, and if all the money hasn't been divvied out, they continue to come after the counties that have accepted it to see if they have more room, because they haven't been awarded their full amount. This isn't giving Gila Regional anything more than their due. It's just that it's allowing them to reach their maximum funding potential that they've never been able to reach in the past, because other people were taking it and they were supplementing it with the private funds. And when they stopped that private fund supplementation that you've seen, it's been in the news a lot. Private hospitals were giving the government's money to help get the sole community provider funds, which was against the laws. It's left a surplus in the funds each year because some counties can't collect enough gross receipts tax or don't have enough money in their general fund to offset the payment portion, the 1/3 portion. And so it's enabled hospitals like Gila Regional, St. Vincent's, and Santa Fe to get more funding because they have the ability to offset those costs without using private dollars. It's all public funds. And the reason why I was thinking that one should be in there, and I'm going to look at it, is because this was something that needed to be done quickly. We did one that we had to send, and it was supposed to, and I'm thinking this is the one, and I'm going to verify that I had to sign and send to them because it was on a time-sensitive matter, and then we're bringing it in front of the commission to approve. But I'll verify it, and I might be wrong, but I'm thinking that's it. The next item is Mr. Lonnie Sandoval is asked to come in front of the commission to discuss the construction of his road. Oh, no, I missed the visitor center report. Sissy McAndrew will come and give the commissioners a visitor center report, just kind of an update on the Southwest Green Chamber, what they've been doing, where they've been going, what they've been seeing as they do their things. I know this past weekend, they had their tamale, that whole tamale or whatever.
The Tamale Fiesta, and it was highly successful. I think there were, Mary Alice, about 450 people there, I think. It was really well done, and I think that's a real asset to the
Yeah, and I know
community.
the First Fridays downtown has been going well. Every weekend that's going good with the bands they've got going. And so she's going to give an update on all that. The next is Mr. Sandoval on his road construction. Where we're at, I'll give the commissioners an update, and Anthony and Earl can fill in too, is we've been looking at it. The last meeting, Anthony reported that he would go out and take a look at the road to see if he could see if the easements were there, because he was a surveyor in his past life there at the mines and for Hamilton. And so he went out and looked, and it didn't appear that the road is in the easement. There's some fence lines, there's some different things, and so we've hired a surveyor to go out and do a complete survey of that road, because we're going to need that to proceed forward with the improvement.
Have we actually hired them yet?
Yes. And I'll let Anthony go ahead and give
They're
you...
going to do the job?
Yeah.
Apparently, it's gonna take about 10 days of field work, and then it's hopefully within a couple of weeks, we should have the complete survey done, so. I haven't checked back with them. I awarded it to him last week, so it's only been about a week's time.
If you'll let Mr. Sandoval know where we are, he's welcome to come and talk to
I
us.
talked to him on the phone the day before yesterday.
And he still wants to
No,
come
yesterday.
to the meeting, Anthony? He's,
Apparently, he still wants to discuss it.
And that's how he was last time, is he just likes to be in public, on the public meeting, asking where we're at, I think, so people see that he's still trying to help out the residents, so he asks. But we're moving, we're doing what we gotta do. This is a step that we have to take before we can go any further, because if you recall, what we were trying to do is see if we thought the road was in the original easement, then we could use the dedication that we already had found that had never been accepted by the commission. It appears as though it's not, so we're gonna have to have a brand-new dedication come in front of the commission to dedicate those right-of-ways to proceed forward. And
Well,
that's what we're trying to do with
it
this.
may be, but what I found when I went out there is that several of those lots have been split. There was corners from several different surveyors all in one place. I just wanted to make sure the description of the center line of the roadway and the easement that the commissioners accepted would be what they wanted. And so if there's fences encroaching, or if there's things that haven't been built, for instance, there's no cul-de-sacs in the places where there's supposed to be cul-de-sacs, all those things can be recognized before the dedication was accepted. So I just thought there would be just an overall good idea to do that, and we have the information.
And we probably need to survey that bus turnaround that Mr. Sandoval said he would allow us to have out of his property so that the buses didn't have to go through the creek bottom, the low water crossing.
There's some issues with where his property comes in off of the roadway, so it's going to have to be changed anyway. That's where the major issue is going to have to be.
So, talking about roads, how about Santa Rita Vista subdivision? Where are we with that?
Viva Santa Rita subdivision, what we have done so far is we've determined that we have two plats. The latest plat, the most recent plat, I guess, was signed in December of 1981, and on it, it states that all the roads in the subdivision are public roads, but they are not for county maintenance. They are not given to the county for maintenance. They are, unless they're brought up to standards and put in front of the commission and accepted at a later date. We don't have any record that they were ever accepted by the commission. So, going off of that, Anthony and Earl have gone out and looked at the subdivision, kind of started getting some estimates on what it would cost. I spoke with Mark Standard, who is our fire chief of Santa Rita Fire Department, who lives in that subdivision, and he said several of his members live in that subdivision. We're going to have a meeting with them, myself and the Chairman Caston, January 7th at 6 p.m. at the Santa Rita Fire Department. Anthony and Earl will be there as well. They're excited about it.
What was the date?
Earl will probably try and find a basketball game on that date now.
but I think that's the way to go, is to meet.
No, and we're going to meet, because what we found is the individual that's been coming and talking to the commission isn't the designated representative of that subdivision. That's been told to us by several members of that subdivision. So what we thought would be the best way is if we got as many of them as we could into a room and explained where we're at and what are the options going forward, let them know. I think the roads are fixable, and Anthony and Earl going out there, I think they're easier than Loma Verde Road. It's just, we need to follow the process, because we can't violate anti-donation.
Exactly how it's supposed to. It's just lacking some surfacing on the roadway, as far as I could tell. The drainage, there's a few drainage problems, but not the amount of work that has to be done out there. Will be no way in as much as Loma Verde roadway.
And we've also talked about, I know there were some people from Camino Verde. Did they come? Yeah.
They're going to come see Anthony. I just spoke to the lady that's heading the project.
So we're going to have three tax improvement districts going at one time, so.
And that's what we talked about, is we wanted to not rush on these and make sure we do them right, because we knew that once we started, there would be several of them coming, because we've had people coming to us.
Well, I think what happened, I think both of those came to us at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's because the garbage pickup isn't going down these these roads anymore. So I think that's why they called us, and because they did call us at the same time. Although, once we get through with these, I can guarantee we'll probably have some more.
No, there's going to be more. I mean, we've had
We've got to get good at it.
We've had questions on Noonday Canyon, the roads in Noonday Canyon subdivision in the past, where they are not county roads. They're supposed to be maintained by a homeowners association and the road group of the homeowners, but that never formed, and so the roads just kind of fell apart, and they came to us probably 4 years ago. No, it was more than that, because Hans was here when they came, so it's probably been about 6 years ago they came to us, and we explained to them at that time, if you can bring them up.
Homeowner groups never work. Seldom ever work. And that's something that we need to ask Abby to look into, is those subdivision rules need to be changed. So if you're going to do a county subdivision, you're going to need to bring your roads up to standard prior to selling a lot.
Now, maybe you can help me with this one, Randy. What does that do to the assessments? What do these newer roads or better roads do to the assessments?
Well, it increases the value, but I don't know for ad valorem purposes as far as taxes are. It'll increase the value as far as sales. But just to go out and reassess because there's a new road, it would have to show the market as far as what sales were taking place and then make an adjustment. But yeah, it would increase the value, no question.
One other thing it does also, though, is it takes that land actually off of the tax rolls. So you gotta remember the 60-foot wide swath becomes Grant County's, right, the dedication of right-of-way becomes Grant County, so there will no longer be any tax on that. So I don't think that you really have a gain.
Yeah, and when you do the improvement districts for a period of time, whatever we designate, there will be an increase in the taxes for those residents. That'll go to pay us back, and we'll figure out that process as we go forward, because what we would like to do is, if somebody comes, is try and do it to where we're not tying up the general fund, is go to like New Mexico Finance Authority, take out a loan, and charge the interest and the loan to the taxpayers in that area, and any other costs, like this survey we're having to do will be part of the improvement district cost, because it's a cost to set up the improvement district. So we'll tie that in when we're done, so that the residents will pay a portion of the survey back to us. They'll pay it all back to us, but it'll be each resident paying their portion based on the amount of land they own that adjoins the road that we've repaired, right? So, all right. So it does a little bit with the taxes, but hopefully it gets paid off. And some people can pay it off right away if they have the money.
And we will be getting more money for a county road.
It increased the amount of money that Mr. Moore gets, because he gets money based on county road inventory.
And I think the open dialogue is good with these residents.
Definitely.
No, and so,
It's just the right thing to do. If residents want it done, then we need to do it.
yeah, and so that's what's happening with the Viva Santa Rita. So we continue, I think we'll continue to probably get the emails even as we do it. And I just wanted to state that one of the emails that came in, I just want to make it clear that the community center that was burnt down in Hanover, that was mentioned in an email, was not burnt down because we didn't care about the residents of Hanover. It was because when it was given to Grant County, it was a condemned building, and we used it as a fire training exercise, because we were looking at building a new fire station on that site for those residents, because that building could not be used by them. So it wasn't burnt down because we didn't care about them, and we were working on the community center in Silver City. It was because it was a hazard when it was given to us, and we were wanting the property for a fire station. So the fire station in Santa Rita worked on burning it down and using it as a training exercise to train their firefighters, as well as the other fire department's firefighters, in structure fires. And then we're looking at rebuilding either on that site or trading that land for another piece that'll be easier to build a fire station and possibly a community park in that area. But it wasn't because we didn't care for those.
And this individual that we're speaking of will be invited to the meeting, John?
Well,
It's residents, so I would not think so.
he's not a resident. Yeah, he's not a resident of that area. He does not own any property in that area. So we're trying to work with those residents to get Typically, we don't throw people out of meetings if they show up, so if the individual shows up, we won't throw
Is it
him
still in
out.
the plan to put a fire station there?
Yes, we've been working,
But not up at Viva Santa Rita.
Yeah,
They have
no,
one
no,
across
no.
the street. We're talking, we've
Down by
made a
Hanover.
big
down by the Manhattan.
Manhattan.
Yes, in that area, in that
we probably need
intersection
one
area.
Mhm.
Yes.
So I know some people live there.
The next item is, the veterans have come, asked the commission if you would be fiscal agent for the Forgotten Veterans Memorial. Grant County owns the land that the Forgotten Veterans Memorial sits on. So in the past, the veterans have gone for funding to do upgrades to that. They've built the gazebo, they've put the helicopter on the pedestal, done the walkways,
Really nice.
different memorials.
It's nice.
And so all that property is owned by Grant County, and it's been set aside for the purpose of that Forgotten Veterans Memorial. So now that there could possibly be some capital outlay this year, they've asked if the commission would be fiscal agent for 2013, 2014, in case they get some funding, so that they can go forward with legislative appropriation to try and do some more repairs out there. And so I just wanted to put that in front of y'all, so, see.
What's the downside for us being a fiscal agent? It costs us a little bit to take care of another fund, but that's really all, isn't it?
In small
Is there
things like
any-
this, in a capital outlay project, it's not hard. It's not a big deal. When we become fiscal agent for HIDA grant, where you're having officers from different areas that they're working on the border, they become harder, because you've got people now stretched all over that you're supposed to be responsible for those people, and it becomes harder. The capital outlay stuff is usually really easy. It's usually cut and dry, what you can do. It takes a little bit of time from planning department, sometimes the public works department, to oversee the project for us.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing about fiscal agent requests is that a lot of times they're making requests for dollars amounts, and they don't really have a lot of planning or engineering or anything like that. So what we ran into in the past is that there were a lot of capital outlay requests from individuals or entities, and either the money wasn't enough to complete the project, or they didn't have plan and design within their scope. A lot of things like that kind of really have to be looked at before they submit a request. I also have another request here from the Fort Baird Preservation Society, Historic Preservation Society, to be fiscal agent for, and I didn't know that this was going to be on this agenda, because I'm assuming this one should be also.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if they discussed anything with the commission about it or not. They came about it to me, and I haven't had a chance to meet with John about this one, just a couple of days ago. And so, but I think that's one of the things that, when we tried to clean up, we had, 13 appropriations at one time that we had to try and clean up, 11.
When I came into the county as a manager, we had 35 open appropriations, and we tried to clean them up. And then when Anthony came in as planning director, I think we were down to about 13 to 20, and we slowly controlled them, and most of them aren't ours.
And that's the thing about it, is there's requests. For instance, this is a request that they made to the legislators for, during the prospectors deal they had over there, but I haven't seen anything. These numbers don't mean a whole lot without actually having an itemized list or a scope of work, or maybe something from an engineer, or just something to be able to put these numbers into hard.
Are you talking about Fort Baird, or
Talking about Fort Baird.
when we were...
I don't know about this other one either. I don't know how much they're requesting. I'm assuming they want the county to be their fiscal agent, but I know that we went to the commissioners and tried to make it clear that in order for people to make these type of requests, they had to bring us some information, so it would be a sound, solid request, and the county's just not trying to put something together after. And not only that, the way that they've set it up for capital outlay, you have to have all that information anyway. And so I think that's one of the things that we're going to have to do before.
So they're requesting us to be their fiscal agent so they can apply.
so they can apply. That's correct.
And we do own the property there already, right?
No,
Not no more, you've been dedicated to them?
no, the Forgotten
I'm going back to the
Veterans.
Forgotten Veterans.
Forgotten Veterans, yes, we do own the property. It is our property. We just have set it aside for the veterans to build a Forgotten Veterans Memorial, but it is Grant County's property, yes.
So I
The
don't
one
no
that
problem
Anthony's
doing
speaking
that.
about, no, we don't own the property.
I don't have no problem being fiscal agents or
Well, their
something we already
request,
own.
right, and their request from, are you talking about Forgotten Veterans, is $55,000 to purchase a storage container and power for lighting, landscaping, and a Bobcat. And that's what they presented to the prospectors at the legislative forum, or to the legislators. So they have an amount there.
Yeah, but I missed the beginning of what you said, but we did adopt a policy, didn't we? Yeah, it should be around here somewhere, and it's not necessarily going to be a grueling test for them. It's just a process that we put in place, because we were actually having problems with people going to the legislature and then later showing up at our doorstep. Potentially, the projects were anti-donation. It was a difficult situation. But maybe we could dig that out for them.
We can assist them and to make a good, viable application. For instance, if they're going to include power, and the power is $45,000, and they don't have any more money, it would behoove them to come, and so we can give a P&M, we can do all the things, do all our homework, and make a good application, because otherwise, like I said, most of the time, they'll give them a little bit of money, maybe enough to buy the container, but the rest of their projects are still on hold.
Yeah.
So, I think it needs to be
Is the
done.
Health Council going to be reviewing for fiscal agency too, or just commissioner's budget?
Well, I think they're going to review for all of it because of part of that, it has to pass the same test, because if we're fiscal agent for something, it can't be anti-donation, it can't do that. Like the Forgotten Veterans, if part of their proposal is ask for a Bobcat, as Grant County, I can't buy a Bobcat and then allow people that are not county employees to use that Bobcat. So that's going to be an issue, is if we're fiscal agent for them, I can buy a storage container, I can put lighting on that property, I can make improvements to the property all I want, but I can't buy a piece of equipment for non-county employees to use, yes.
And we already told them that if they need something like that done, all they have to do is put in the request and we'll get somebody
So
out.
we could buy a Bobcat specifically to be put out at Baton Memorial Park that our employees could go out and use, which we already have a Bobcat that we keep in that area, but I couldn't do something and let them. We ran into that same issue when the state wanted us to be fiscal agent for a disabled veterans van to run them up to Albuquerque, and the problem is I couldn't purchase a van and then give it to a private group to drive that van. Our insurance isn't going to cover it, and it's anti-donation to give it to a 501c3 group. I could do it to another government entity, but I can't do it to a nonprofit 501c3. It becomes anti-donation because I'm allowing them to use government property for
So maybe that
private.
needs to be specified on the policy that we already have.
Well, yeah, and the policy we have is really just a basic, that if you wish the commission to be fiscal agent, then the commission has to sign off on it before the legislators can fund it. And we it was really for the legislators to give to people when they would come, because as in the past, the way capital outlay always worked is, you would get the form and people would just hit the legislators up at session while they're up there in the roundhouse, and they would just sign and start throwing things in, and then all of a sudden Grant County would get a list that we got 10 appropriations and we had only put in for one, and we didn't know half of the projects that we were now
And
fiscal
the
agent
one we
for.
wanted, we didn't get.
And, yeah, basically. And so,
It should be reviewed by planning and by staff before it's ever presented to the commission.
Well, I was just looking through some of the Health Council stuff, and I don't know if you've talked to Tiffany about the fiscal agency difference. It's not necessarily a funding request from us. I don't see it in here, so maybe we should talk with her about that a little more, if that's what we're asking them to also do. Does that make sense? We have the two pieces. One's our money, one's the state's money. We're just being asked to be fiscal agent for the state money.
Time is of the essence on this, but I'm not sure we're after all I've heard, that we can do this yet.
I'm not trying to mess it
I
up.
think you can approve to be fiscal agent. It's just when you submit the request for funding, that it needs to be, it needs to be real, it needs to be,
Well, and
You mean from
these are
us?
capital funds that we're competing against some of these groups for.
right.
Is that going to be a request from the county for these capital funds?
It will be a
And it's
request.
not on our ICIP? I mean,
Well, that will
I've
be the
seen lots of
Well,
issues.
Well, and that's
These
something,
are-
I guess, before we submit, I guess before the commission accepts to be fiscal, we have to see. If it's not on our ICIP, then we can't, because it's not going to be funded, is what I think. These might be, I don't know, I know Fort Bayard is, because we've always had Fort Bayard on there, because that's how we tie in the reservoir as well, is that whole economic development of Fort Bayard.
So is Baton.
Um,
I think Baton continues to be on there. I don't
Is
know
it?
about it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but, yeah, it is. Yeah, this is us taking, the county has come forward and said, these are our top 5 priorities, and we're going to try and put in for them, but then other people come in to ask for fiscal, we've got to sign off that Grant County is putting in for that money, and it comes as a grant to Grant County, not as a grant to the veterans. It comes to Grant County for the purpose of buying a storage container for Baton Memorial Park, Forgotten Veterans Memorial, and this and that. So it's dictated what it's used for, but it comes in as Grant County applied for it.
So do we need to hold off on this?
I don't know, I think it's just a reminder right now that some of these groups that are going to be requesting capital outlay need to come to the county a little bit earlier than, the end of December, and, try and get some things done to make it, we need to know about these things. We don't want the county to be fiscal agent. We want to know what the project's all about.
Absolutely.
And it's difficult to get this 2 days before the commission meeting and say, well, you know what, we want you to be fiscal agent. That's a difficult thing. These numbers don't mean anything to me,
All these projects are good projects.
There
There's
certainly
nothing
are.
wrong with them.
I can't agree with
It's,
that.
if you start allowing everybody to come in 2 days before, like you said, then you'll start getting projects that aren't good projects, then they're gonna say, well, you've allowed these others to do it. We need to go through, everybody needs to go through the process.
Well, and I think that the prospectors forum actually sets these things off, kind of gets them in motion. But I think that they need to know that it's to get started before that, and that's usually what happens. They go to prospectors, they make their presentations, then they find out that, hey, maybe the county is the one that we're going to have to talk to, and that's, kind of gets the ball rolling. But it just needs to be known that it needs to be done beforehand.
Okay. So are you saying that we need to put the Fort Bayard application for fiscal agent on the,
Well, I think that's something,
or are you gonna talk to them and we'll do it in January? Or not do it?
well, this request goes right along with the theater, and I think that that's something that Grant County is trying to attempt to utilize, and so,
Heating and air conditioning on it.
yeah, it's a good request. I don't, that's after the commission.
No, and it's like you said, they're all good. I mean, maybe what we need to do is change our policy that it says, if you wish the commission to be fiscal agent, you've got to present before the prospectors forum. That if you haven't asked for fiscal agent before that, the commissioners after the prospectors forum won't approve any more fiscal agent status, because then that way, the legislators won't hear it, as right now they've heard all these things and they're looking for these to come through and be in their book when they hit the legislative session for them to turn in. They've heard everything. And anybody that's not a government entity has to have a fiscal agent.
And we have asked to use the theater at Fort Bayard and have not been given it yet. So I'm not sure how much money the county wants to spend on the theater if we're not gonna end up with it.
And it's, the request is, these 2 requests are for $330,000, so it's
There's not gonna be
substantial.
that much capital outlay.
That's why I think that if it may be broken down into something useful and you make a $35,000 request to replace the doors and windows, or some things, or an upgrade for the bathrooms to be ADA, but this request this is a lot of money for a lot of things, and
I'm
I just
expecting
don't know
the
why this
county
should
to
be
get, I would be hopeful that we might get 300,000 total.
out of all of our requests.
In the county.
What leads you to that?
Well, the senator will get about 800,000 total. He has 3 counties. Each representative will have about 400,000 total. They each have 3 counties. So I just did a little division.
And hopefully it happens that way, because it always hasn't happened.
Realistically, probably 200,000.
Yeah, last year they didn't get as much, and so most of the funding went to Western because their needs were the highest to redo their infrastructure.
So
So we need to be cautious then.
Yeah.
we need to make sure that what we're asking for is really what we want.
But also, Mr. Chairman, Senator Morales has been real adamant about, if you have a capital outlay request, get it in there, so it'll be on the books in the archives. He's always made that perfectly clear. So it is something that we do have to do, regardless of how much funding comes back. But I think that they still, DFA is requiring that you be specific on what you're trying to apply for, that the estimates that you have are real estimates. So those things still have to be done.
Yeah, Anthony and I one year tried to be, I don't know what you'd call it, good stewards or what, because we knew there was no capital outlay, so we tried to not bombard the legislators with just capital outlay requests that we knew were going to go nowhere, so we didn't turn one in. And then we started getting phone calls at the beginning of the session as to why we didn't do it and find some projects and turn them in right away. And we're like, well, we were trying to help you guys because we knew you didn't have any money. We weren't going to give you something. We're just here to support you because you've supported us this whole time. We're trying to help you guys out for once, and they got upset at us because we didn't turn in capital. So now we turn in capital every year, even though if there's not money.
We spent 3 days in a hotel room trying to put this request together.
Put the capital outlay request.
Again, I don't have no problem, serving all these different entities if we own that property or have a big interest in it. But if we know that we're not going to own it or have a question about it, then we probably shouldn't be putting monies in that we
should wait until we do have an interest in it.
And if the commission wishes on Thursday, if we go forward with these, you could always approve to say something like that in the motion, that you approve to be fiscal agent, but it's got to fit these criteria, and then Anthony and I can look at them as they come in before we sign the capital outlay request to go up to legislature and make sure they fit the criteria the commission wishes, or just say, I'm sorry, it didn't fit what the commission wished us to make sure had in there, we can't sign it and send it up for you. And so that's always a possibility. You have that ability with the motion to make sure it meets those criteria.
Are you meeting with the Fort Baird Preservation Association?
We were supposed to meet this afternoon.
You are?
I wanted to bring this to the attention of the commission.
What about the veterans?
I really didn't have any insight on what...
Have you met with the veterans with Armando?
I didn't even know anything about that.
No, Mr. Amador came by yesterday and asked if I would sign to be fiscal, and so we put it in front of you all, because you should be.
Well, I think we need to.
Does he know that we can do part of that and not part of it?
Yeah, he understands, Mr. Amador understands the procurement and the capital outlay process very well. He's gone through it for many years. The 7 years I've been here, he's been dealing with Baton Park. He's been dealing with Baton Park. So I think he understands what he can and can't get, and that the commission has the authority, and that's why he comes. He tries to be and he's been a good partner of the county.
Absolutely.
In building that facility out there and trying to get things for the veteran. He's a great voice for the veteran.
Absolutely, I agree.
And so he does really good. When he does a project, he's got it lined out and what he wants exactly. It's not a lot of fluff in there. He keeps it to the bare minimum stuff. So.
Okay. Anything else on this before we move on? Item M.
This is, item M is an amendment to the agreement with New Mexico Children, Youth, and Families Department of Juvenile Justice Services for 2013 for $35,413.50. What this is that restorative justice. They haven't sent out the new RFP yet. It's supposed to be coming out at the end of this year. I don't know if it's come out yet. It was supposed to be the end of November, but I hadn't heard yet. And so what they did is they've increased that amount of money so that they could continue the restorative justice programs that are currently going on. The commission is fiscal agent for this money. It was an RFP that was done back in 2010. It was for the district courts, for Grant County, Luna County, and Hidalgo County to run restorative justice centers. So that's what this will be, and then the agreements below are to amend agreements to try and spend some of this money going forward. Item N is the agreement with Randall Compton to increase by $2,800 to just continue the services that he's providing under the restorative justice program. The circle process in the schools is what Mr. Compton is doing. He's one of the contractors they have doing that program. The next item, O, is an amendment to the agreement with Lorraine Zunich for the circle process in the schools to increase the value by $192.50. And she does a weekly update to the JPPO chief, and she does the training in Lordsburg Public Schools. The 19th and 20th is what that'll pay for. Item P is the agreement with Ms. Lorraine Zunich, the other agreement they have with her to do circles and schools up in this area. And it is to decrease her agreement by $1,341, as well as the one with the Lordsburg schools.
And why is that, John?
To my understanding, the reason why Mrs. Zunich's agreements bounce around is because of the, when her son was injured, she had to put a lot on hold, and so she didn't do a lot, so they're trying to get her working again, and so it varies on what she can do, and so they bounce her agreements around a lot, trying to keep her involved as much as she can. At one point in time, before the injury happened to her son, she was running the program for him, and was kind of the main contact that we dealt with. And since then, they've tried to keep her as active as possible, so they increase some portions of her contract and decrease some portions of her contract to try and work with her as much as possible with the restraints that are now placed upon her, taking care of her son. So that's my understanding. The next item, Q is with Miss Lakeisha Marquez. This is to do the facilitator of Family Circle, coordinator topics. She'll attend HIPAA training and participate in JPPO training and the mandatory yearly orientation for the contractors. This amount is for $1,342.50. It should be billed at $35 an hour during the contract period. It's working on that, through all that restorative justice process of that money, spending that $35. The next item, item R, is a sub-grant with the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security Emergency Management for 2012 Operation Stone Garden. And it's for the amount of $171,000. This is the program that the sheriff uses to do his border interdictions. We've been doing it for 4 years now. As the fiscal impact has happened on the federal government, his amounts have decreased. As you see, this one's only $171. In the past, he's gotten as high as, I think it was about $1.4 million in a year to do this program. So now what they've done is dwindled him down to where he's basically, it's going to pay for his overtime. In the past, he's been able to buy equipment, different ATVs, vehicles, goggles for night vision for his officers to work that border down there looking for the drugs in that region. And now they feel as though, I guess, all the agencies involved have kind of equipped themselves well enough to perform the tasks, and now they're cutting it back to where it's just really paying for the task to be performed. I don't know if you have any more to input on it, Sheriff?
And that's correct, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What's happening is they're concentrating more on man hours down there, on overtime, working these operations. They're cutting back on giving funding for equipment. So that's something that we're going to have to look at in the future as far as the equipment that we purchased, making sure it lasts as long as this funding is going to be available to us.
Thank you, sir.
Next item is the consolidated project agreement with the New Mexico Department of Transportation Traffic Safety Bureau for Operation DWI, Operation Buckle Down, and 100 Days and Nights of Summer. These are the programs that the sheriff runs. The Operation DWI is funded at $25,802, and it will run from October 1st, 2012 to September 30th, 2013. Operation Buckle Down is funded at $3,915, run from the same time period. And then the 100 Days and Nights of Summer is funded at $4,000, and it goes from June 21st, 2013 to September 30th, 2013. These are agreements that we get every year. Sheriff's Office operates. What they mainly pay for is for our officers' time to go out and run these different programs. Helps offset some of the costs to do special duties out there for the overtime. And they seem to make a difference. The officers are very busy during these time frames and write a lot of citations, as the sheriff usually reports during that time frame. The citations are up because we're running all these special details, just trying to keep the roads safer for everybody else and kids as they're out of school, different things like that. Item T is the Cooperative Law Enforcement Annual Operating Plan between the Grant County Sheriff's Department and the USDA Forest Service. This is fiscal year for 2013. It's $19,748.66 for the offsetting of the manpower cost and $5,000 to purchase equipment. This is the one where we do the forest patrols that was questioned before by the commission.
So is this the agreement that also authorizes their LEOs to patrol also?
Actually, what we're doing is we're secondary to their patrol that they go out in the forest. What we do is we just go out there and do patrols for them to help them out as far as Forest Service stuff. They pay for our officers to be out there patrolling the forest, and they also pay to purchase some of the equipment. They pay for fuel for our guys to be out there, so it's something that we work together with them on.
And I think we checked on that last time, and there was no language in the contract that in this agreement, and that's why the commission approved the last one, when that question came up when we had amendment. We didn't see any language in here that said that the sheriff will give the authority, his authority over to those law enforcement officers. What this agreement is doing is just, if they have something special, they call the sheriff and tell them they need extra deputies, and they go out and help. But I've never seen anywhere in there where it says we will, the sheriff is, by signing this agreement, or the county by accepting this agreement, passing authority over to those law enforcement officers to carry out the same duties. And that was the concern that you had on that amendment we had last year. And then looking at this one, under the cooperators' duties, I don't see that again, that we're passing any of that along. It just says we shall help them, not that we're giving them any extra abilities or authority.
That is correct what the manager has said. It's not authorizing them to take laws and utilize the powers of the sheriff's deputies. All it is we're just there to support them and help them if they need help with anything out in the forest. It's not giving them any jurisdiction or authority to enforce traffic laws or stuff like that out there, unless they're commissioned by me as a special deputy or cross-commissioned to do that stuff. And that is not part of the agreement.
The next item is a resolution for budget adjustments for fiscal year 2013. This is to set up the forest patrols, which I'll speak with Linda, because we have it set up as 22, because that was what it had been in the past, and so we'll adjust it to the 28 that we've now got the agreement. And then it's to set up the Geo Library bond money, Santa Rita Fire Department 2013 Fire Protection Fund grant, the CYFD Juvenile Justice that we spoke of, the 2013 Safe Border Grant, which is on the commission agenda, the apron reconstruction, the 2013 road special projects in the Fort Bayard Medical Center sewage system, and the water line extension from NMFA. They're the two grants. The sewage system is a $100,000 grant we received from the state in the last capital outlay from Representative Martinez, and then the water line extension is that $50,000 NMFA grant we received to do the engineering, the pre-engineering study for the water line extension if we were to take the water from the old Fort Bayard, the spring water, and bring it over to the new facility and also have it as a possible backup water source for the village of Santa Clara. So it's just to set up those. But I'll have her adjust that forest patrols because we now have the number. Typically in the past it was always $22,000 that the sheriff received. And then there's an indigent claim for 1,229 claims totaling $639,440.35. And that should be it. Oh, I was going to add a couple items to the agenda. I gave you a copy of this. The Food Policy Council has requested some amendments to their bylaws, a little piece of scrap paper. When we set up the Food Policy Council several years ago, they had set their bylaws. Since they've been working, the co-chair, one of the co-chairs has come to us and asked for some amendments to the policy. I've looked at them, and I had Mr. Gorman look at them because it was before Ms. Robinson had come back. And so I've kind of summarized the amendment that I've given you on the front is really what we could do from what they're asking. There you go, you can have that one. What they're asking to do is they, currently it's a 13-member board and it requires 7 members to be there for a quorum. They've asked that the quorum be changed to 5 members, and so if the quorum is 5 members, then we have to change the board down to 9-member board instead of a 13-member board, because the quorum has to be one more than half. So that's a proposed change, is that it becomes a 5-member quorum, and it becomes a 9-member board instead of 13. And in the original composition of the board, it was said that it had to be 5 members had to be from government entities. The issue is that most of us that work in government are already doing 2 or 3 jobs, and so it's hard for us to break away to go to a meeting when these individuals are scheduling them. And it's not because we don't believe in the food policy, it's just because when it comes down to if we're going to work on Viva Santa Rita subdivision or we're going to attend a food policy council meeting, we're going to work on Viva Santa Rita subdivision and miss the food policy council. So originally how it was set up that myself and the planner had to be there. Randy Hernandez has been attending for me because I haven't been able to attend the meetings because I travel a lot and I've already got a bunch of meetings. And so what they would like to do is not have the requirement to have 5 members of the government anymore, but have a cross-section that represents everybody.
And I think that's a better...
And so it's easier.
Better representation.
Because it's hard for us. Anthony attends regularly, but as we get busier with legislative session, Anthony's going to be kind of out of pocket for 2 to 3 months that he won't be able to attend this meeting, and then they can't conduct business because they don't have enough people. So that's what they're trying to do. So we'll add that for your consideration, those amendments to the bylaws. And then the other thing we'll be adding is we'll be adding all the documents. We'll get them copies of them to you for the bonds. The hospital bonds have gone out. They've been bid. They've received 3 bids back on the bonds, the $10 million bond sale. Mark Valenzuela, that's acting as a financial advisor to the commission, has reviewed them, made a recommendation, and so Perry Bendixson Bond Counsel has been putting together the documents that will come in front of the commission, and so I'll get the drafts to Randy so we can put them on the agenda, and Mr. Bendixson will be here Thursday to present to the commission for approval of the bond sale. And then I saw an email from him that he's asked the hospital board to schedule a meeting for Thursday after the commission meets, so then he can go over there and do what he needs from them, so that they can proceed forward to close and sell those bonds and get that $10 million in before the end of the year to qualify as bank qualified bonds, and then we'll go forward next year with a possible another 10 million. That'll give them the 20 million they need to do the first reconstruction portion, and then as they get closer to finishing up that, then they'll issue the rest of it, is the plan. So we'll add those items to the agenda.
Is that all the additions?
I believe that's all the additions. So, that's it.
All right. Guess we'll move into county reports. Terry? I thought you might tell them how good the turkey was out at
It
Miller's.
was delicious.
They did a good job.
Brett and his mom and myself went out there for Thanksgiving dinner, and it was great. So we had a good time.
And the Hewlett Center had theirs already too?
Yes. Yes.
I wasn't able to make that, but I'm sure it was
They had
very
it on the
nice.
same day, actually.
It's hard to eat it all of them. So, Earl?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Not much to report, just daily maintenance stuff we've been doing. So, have any questions?
Any questions for Earl? Okay. Anthony?
I think we've covered most of what I had on my list here. I did complete a scope of work for the fair barns. I do have a question, though. I need to get clarified what's going to happen to the plumbing. There's a lot of plumbing throughout the building. I don't know if we have to include that they do something, or if the fair board might cut the plumbing off to where they can demo. I think that has to be taken a look into, and maybe something may have to do with the old restroom. We may have to have some kind of environmental assessment for the old restroom demolition. So those are some things that I have to get answered. And
We have a meeting with the surveyors and the architects tomorrow afternoon, right?
for the fair. Those are the only things that I still have some questions on. I set it up to demo, the overall demolition will be set by square footage of the roof,
At
and
1 o'clock today, we meet with Jim Redford.
Excuse me, it's at 1 o'clock today.
Has
I'm
Anthony
sure
been
we can get
involved
some
in
answers
those?
there.
last time they had a meeting, I wasn't able to
Oh,
attend.
he
but-
was getting a Christmas tree.
My girls come first, sorry.
But maybe we can get those answered today at 1 o'clock.
Okay. The only other thing is I trying to get the language to say the demolition of the structure itself by square footage, and then the block work in there by linear foot, and just trying to break it down to where we have some good competitive bids. There's going to be two sections of it. One, the demolition itself, cost of demolition, and cost of or I guess not necessarily the cost, but any additional offset for the materials. So there'll be two parts. The only other thing is I want to mention, we are, Alicia and Angela did go out and survey user equipment for Hermosa and the Hanover area. We're still trying to fix up the addressing problems we got in that area, and so we're, in case anybody is asking, we are trying to get that done, so. I did put in that, was able to submit the brownfield application for the environmental assessment at Fort Beard. We requested $350,000. Their $200,000 assessment request, but you're able to waiver if it's a first-time assessment, and so that's what we applied for.
Okay.
Sheriff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We had a fairly quiet month in November. Our calls actually went down, which I'm pleased to report that. I don't know if it has to do with the weather, but it significantly went down. We had 231 calls for service. We investigated 16 motor vehicle collisions. We did take 125 reports during that time. During that month, also, the end of November, we had some training that was brought locally that I did have several of my staff attend, dealing with drug interdiction. During that training, they learned quite a bit of good information. The last 3 days of that training, they actually went hands-on here in the county. We had over 30 officers from different areas, different locations, actually running traffic, doing interdiction here in Grant County, and it was actually a positive impact. Got a lot of positive comments from people seeing that we're out there working, trying to attack our problems that we're dealing with. So I'm very pleased that that training was brought here to Silver City. Our Civil Process Division for the month of November served 484 papers to include DVOs, subpoenas, summons. They did have transports. Mainly what we've been doing on our transports is transporting a lot of juveniles. We had 800 miles just on juvie transports from Silver City to our either Deming. We've gone to Gallup quite a bit, just transporting these juvies. Other than that, currently we have 3 vacant positions. Actually, I only have 1 now. We have hired 2 people, and actually what happened is I pulled one of my court security officers. Jason Jordan is now going to be a deputy again, so that opened a position at court security that we're currently trying to fill. I also, and I hate to say this, we stole one of the officers from the city that's going to come work for us. I hired another female. Her name is Lynn Click. I'm pleased that she's going to be an asset to our agency. We could use another female in patrol, so that's going to help us out. And I do have 1 current position that we're trying to fill between 2 candidates from the detention center. So, I mean, it's good that these guys from the detention center want to move up, and I'd like to give them the opportunity. So currently we're working on that. The last thing is we're preparing for the holidays. It's going to be probably a busy holiday season for us. We're hoping that everything goes well, and we're going to be prepared for it, and just wish everybody a safe and happy holiday season. Other than that, I have nothing else to report unless you have any questions.
Any questions for the sheriff?
And burglaries are down a bit.
They have gone down significantly.
Any reason?
I know that we've been arresting several people that have been suspected of doing it. Just the extra patrol, the being proactive and dealing with the crime has shown, because it's slowed down. So we're going to continue to work hard at it and see what we can do to prevent it from occurring further. But being that the holidays are coming up, I do encourage the public to please lock their doors, lock their homes. Don't leave anything visible that will attract somebody to go in and break into your vehicle or break into your home.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Mr. Assessor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have nothing unless you have any questions.
Any questions for making it easy? Mr. Treasurer?
Yes, Commissioner. Chairman, Commissioners, yesterday was the last day of the first half of the 2012 taxes. We were very busy yesterday in collection. I should have some numbers for you on Thursday. We just need to finish our mortgage and mail, and hopefully we'll have that done this week. And I'll have some numbers for you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Miller?
I just wanted to mention that commencement at Western is on Friday at 2:30. And also, kudos to the PA Volunteer Fire Department. There was a fire at the fort in PA, and the owners were very, very pleased with the quick actions and response and everything that they did in regards to that fire. And then I just had a question on where we're at with the detention administrator, John.
You're not supposed to ask, you're supposed to write it out. No. No, we've done the interviews as we reported. I've spoke with the recommended candidate by the interview committee, and I'll be meeting with the individual on Friday. And so we'll see what happens from there. If things work out, then we'll proceed forward in announcing. If not, then we'll start talking to number 2 if we wish. And so that's kind of where we're at, is because of scheduling conflicts. We just haven't been able to get together with my travel and the individual's travel. We're trying to get that figured out.
And that's all I have.
Okay, while you're gone, do you have anything else?
Yes, I got a couple items. I wanted to, on the expenditure listing, I guess I'm becoming an old, not remembering as well as I thought, which is shocking. The $1 million payment that I was looking for, I was remembering that I signed all the JPPO contracts, and I was thinking it was that we had to get done. So that just came in, so that's not in here. So the reason why the expenditure listing is higher is because of the items, the construction on the conference center, the construction at the airport of $152,000, the conference center of $237,000, are the major items that we've got in there. So wanted to let you know that. Randy reminded me that one just came in, and it was the other stuff I did. So I'm relying on Randy's 20-year-old brain instead of my 45-year-old brain more and more nowadays.
What can we do without you, Randy?
I wanted to let the commissioners know that was my mistake. That payment wasn't made yet. It will be made after, if it's approved. Also wanted to let the commissioners know that I spoke with Commissioner Miller, and under her discretionary funds, we're going to work with the Lodgers Tax Committee to give them the $2,000 more to help with some advertising that they're trying to do that they didn't have budgeted that came up on them. We're going to, the Imagination Library came to the commission before and had requested $4,000 to provide library services to the community. And so we're going to see if that's possible. I'll get with Abby and see if we can work on a service agreement with them for the $4,000 to help fund that Imagination Library program to provide books to, if I'm remembering correctly, it provides books from birth to 5.
Yes.
That is? So 5 years old. And so currently the people have been doing this service to the community without any funding except for their own, and so this will be a professional service agreement with them to provide this library services to the community. And then $5,000 of her discretionary funds is going to go towards helping with the reconstruction of the fair barn, offsetting some of the costs so that we can reconstruct that fair barn out there and get that going by next fair. There's a couple other items out of her discretionary funds. $25,000 is hers, $25,000 is the new commissioners, and so there's still some room in hers that we're working on. There's been some other requests that have come to her that we're looking at to see if they're fundable items going forward. And if they are, we'll fund those, and I'll let the other commissioners know. But at this time, those are the items that Commissioner Miller wishes to fund out of hers. They've been requested. I think they're all things that we can do because it's our lodgers tax and it's our fair barn. The Imagination Library is the only one that will have to look at the service and make sure the contract is appropriate, that it is providing a service and it doesn't violate anti-donation. And then that will be all set, and we'll have those going for those individuals.
It felt very good. I felt like Santa Claus.
So those items will be done. We've updated you on most of our projects. As you can see, the construction at the conference center is going well. The portion in front of Ace Hardware is, the windows are done, the awning is done above it, the siding is ready to be stuccoed. Parking lot will be the last thing we do, but if you see that the poles are already set for the new canopy in front of the opening, the new opening has been cut back and trimmed out. So we're getting close to where we're getting to stucco. The Corey Caminos building on the side is getting pretty much done on the outside, getting ready to start working on the interior of it. And so those projects are moving along very well. Kevin Robinson's our architect on that, doing a great job. Meeting with the contractor on a weekly basis to make sure that project stays on schedule and he has everything he needs. The road department has helped out, milling a lot of things at the beginning to get that prepared for him so he's able to move around and do his different jobs. As you see, the fence has shrunk a lot, and so it's a lot tighter to the project, so it's opened up more of the parking. So it's going to be a really nice building when it's done. Mr. Robinson came and talked to me the other day about wanting to meet with the COG to start setting up the meetings with the EDA again to see if we can't get that extra $2 million to do the inside, to be proactive and start going after that, so that we can start to send pictures and show them that we've done what they've asked us on the outside, and we're ready to start the inside and see if we can't get those money so that as we finish this, we can start scheduling to start the reconstruction of the inside and start meeting to do the design off of that master plan we've already come up with through Mr. Richards. And so that project's, like I said, moving along great. The jail, Joseph isn't here, I'll let you know the jail's coming along good. We're still having some issues with fixing air conditioning, different little bugs in there. They finally, I think, narrowed it down to what the issue is. We had at the beginning, kind of the issue was that each of the individual contractors would come at separate times, and so they would all point the fingers at the other. It was Honeywell's controls, it was the contractor that put in the ducting, it's the engineer that designed the system. So we finally got them all together, and they've come up with that when the system was put in, there's a couple starters on the different motors that were missed, automatic starters. And so they're looking at trying to get all that stuff ordered and put in. I was impressed with the subcontractor Enoch, that he sent an email when somebody started questioning whose fault it was. He sent back an email, he said, I didn't care whose fault it is, let's just get it done and then we'll figure out who needs to pay for it. If it's an addition or if it was something we missed, where it is, let's just get it done, because it's becoming an issue with the weather getting colder. And basically what's happening is the heaters and everything are working, but there's these purge fans, so that in the event of a fire or anything, the purge fans open, the dampers shut off, and it evacuates the building. Well, the purge fans are running, as well as the economizers that make up cold air. And so we've got about 1,300 CFM of hot air coming out of the heater, and we've got almost 2,000 CFM of cold air at 20 degrees coming in, and so it's just washing out the heat, is what's happening. And so they're figured the issues, they're designing some new dampers to put in and some new starters to put on those motors to control them, and then we'll be okay. Because if we shut it off, the building gets stuffy. It's designed to have some circulation, and if you shut off that circulation, then it just becomes stuffy, and it's not comfortable that way either. So they're working on it. It's affecting not the whole building, it's just a couple areas. The major portion of the building is okay, it's just the female section, the booking area, and then one of the male pods. So we're adjusting inmates around, and then also looking at possibly moving our females out to Hidalgo County, because they have room, until we can get this fixed, so that we're not causing any health hazards to anybody. We're looking at the safety and welfare of everybody involved. So they're working on getting that issue solved. So if you get any phone calls that it's freezing, we understand. We're trying to fix it. We're working with the contractors. The building is still under warranty, so we're trying to get it all fixed before the warranty's expired. So that's...
Any questions from the manager?
I just want to congratulate Colburn Silver's volleyball team. They had a great year this year. I want to congratulate Silver's football team. They did a great job representing this area. They fell 3 points short, unfortunately. We have one of our professional announcers here. They did a real good job bringing us the information. But yeah, congratulations to these teams. Silver played a heck of a game. I wish I could.
Sounds like they did.
Are we going to finish the Correcaminos portion before the rest, John? So that we can hopefully move them in there and not have to pay rent?
I think it's kind of scheduled to all complete at the same time in March or April, because what they're doing is, they're stuccoing the whole outside together. And basically, once we finish the stucco, it completes the front of the building, and then all that's left is the inside of Correcaminos.
I wonder if they could start when they start on the inside, if they can do that portion first.
Okay. And the Correcaminos inside will be completed. It's totally separate from the rest of the inside of our building. So I will get with Mr. Robinson, get some estimates to see, so we can get some time schedules for you. But yeah, it'll.
What kind of lease do we have with the other building?
$1,200 a month, I believe.
But is it month to month, or what is it?
Yeah, it's a month-to-month lease. It's a month-to-month lease, and then we're going to have to look and see. Well, I guess because we own Correcaminos, again, we won't charge. At the time that we weren't running Correcaminos and it was run by the Southwest RTD, we were looking at charging them to be in this building.
That could be part of our portion for the in-kind.
Yeah, it could be part of our in-kind contributions as we go forward with the JPA and the contributions that we're looking at. because, yeah, I know in Luna County, the space they're in down there, they charge us $500 a month for, and it's just one office and a little window.
It's actually a really nice place.
Yeah, no, it's the nice building, but we only get
Yeah.
that one office and a little window. The whole building is a very nice building.
Well, it needs to all be equal, but I'm sure you guys will get that done, so. Just anything?
That's it. Thank you
That's
very
it,
much.
huh? I too want to congratulate the volleyball teams and the football teams. We are the best public, Silver is the best public school football team in the state in 3A, so we had to go play a private school. A little dig there for public education.
That's right.
And I attended the BIPO training, the Better Informed Public Official training with the future Commissioner Ron Hall and John and Abby. I can tell you that there's a theme behind the new training, and it's all about ethics, and it's all about anti-donation. We spent basically 2 solid days on ethics and anti-donation, and then about 30 minutes on finance. So, that's about right, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Abby, I know, got a lot of information for 2 solid days, and Ron Hall really soaked in a lot, so he's going to hit the road running. So, and the turkey was good at Membris, if you'll let them know. I really enjoyed that. And at this time, if there's nothing else, we can adjourn. Go
I wanted to
ahead.
let you know that we're looking at, on the vehicles. The vehicles that we've ordered should be in the first week of January. Terry's looking at ordering 6 Escapes, the 1.6 liter EcoBoosts. And what we're looking at, and that's what he had requested. There's been a recall on those. I don't know if you've seen the news, they've recalled all 2013 Ford Escapes that have the 1.6 liter EcoBoost engine. They haven't required any of the 2s, recalled any of the 2.0s. So I've asked Ford, Wally Ford had bid the 1.6s, Monette Ford had bid the 2.0s. I've asked them to give me an update on it. If it's a problem that's going to take a while to fix, I think what we're looking at doing is going to the 2.0 liter EcoBoost engine out of Monette Ford out of Socorro. They're a little bit, I think about $1,000 more a vehicle is all, is what it
It
is.
depends if we get the extended warranty.
Yeah, the extended warranty, I think, is the same on both, pretty close, but,
Well, I think we waited this on. I think we can wait a little more just to stay local.
well, and what I've done is they tried to call me, so I'll call them after I go back, is they've tried to call me and let me know, because I've asked them to get in touch with Ford and see. If this is going to be a 6-month fix, then we'll go and we'll start ordering some vehicles. If it's something that Ford has already gotten fixed and they're going to be shipping vehicles, then we'll look at it. It's just, I don't want to hold up,
Any
or I
others?
don't want to buy 1.6.
The others have been ordered already from Raleigh.
Yes, the other 4 have been ordered from Raleigh, the Explorers, and those are the ones that should be here the first week of January is the scheduled delivery right now in the system, is what they told me yesterday. And like I said, as soon as I find out on that other Escape, we'll make a decision whether we buy here or we buy at Monette. They're both on the agreement. It's just, I don't want to, it's nothing against Raleigh. I don't want to buy vehicles that are going to be recalled, and as soon as we get them, we're going to have to be taking them in for all kinds of fixes because they're being recalled, because they have flaws in them. And Lolly understood when I talked to them. They're in the same boat. They're not ordering any Escapes until they get it figured out, is what they told me. And it also affected the Ford Fusions.
Well, I know we didn't see very much of a difference between the Explorer and the Escape. Can we just go back and get Explorers instead of the Escape?
We could, Terry was trying to get the more fuel-efficient vehicle, is what we were trying to do. It is a possibility. We could order
They
it.
have the same engine though, right?
No, the Ford has the V6 in it, the Explorer has the V6. If we wished to go with the EcoBoost engine in it, you had to upgrade to a sport model, which would have cost another $10,000 a vehicle, because the only vehicle it's offered in is a sport, and so you have to get all these other features to be able to get that EcoBoost engine, so it wasn't worth it. The savings wouldn't have been there to offset the cost. And so we're running a V6. They get, I think they're supposed to get 23, they're supposed to get 23 miles a gallon. They meet that range that the commission has for more than 20 miles a gallon. Just the Escape is a more fuel-efficient vehicle because you can get that EcoBoost i4 engine in it. is the only difference. And so that's what Terry was trying to do.
I just wanted to add one more thing, and welcome back Abby.
Oh, yeah.
It would be nice to have a female sitting up here once I'm gone.
Dave didn't miss you.
I didn't know you were gone.
Anyway, welcome back, Abby.
It's on leave.
We can get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. We are adjourned.